Most people will never reach the life they imagined for themselves. Not because they lacked the ability, not because the world was too cruel, not because the odds were too heavy, but because at some quiet, unremarkable moment when no one was watching, their mind decided it had suffered enough, and they stopped. That is the truth no one wants to say out loud. You are not failing because you are weak physically. You are not failing because you were born in the wrong place, at the wrong time, with the wrong resources. You are failing. If you are failing, because somewhere inside you, buried beneath the excuses and the justifications and the carefully constructed explanations you give other people, your mind quit before your potential had a chance to arrive. Sit with that. Because that sentence is not meant to wound you. It is meant to wake you up. Most people move through life operating on a system they were never taught to question. A system that tells them comfort is safety, that rest means reward, that if something is hard, it must not be right for them. And so, the moment resistance appears, the moment the work stops feeling good and starts feeling heavy, the moment results slow down and doubt creeps in through the silence, they pull back. They step away. They tell themselves they need a break. They tell themselves they will return to it tomorrow, and tomorrow becomes next week, and next week becomes never. This is not dramatic. This is not unusual. This is simply what happens when a mind has never been trained to endure. Think about the last time you started something that mattered to you, something you believed in. In the beginning, there was energy, there was clarity. There was that specific feeling of momentum that makes everything seem possible. You could see the version of yourself waiting on the other side. You could feel how close it was. And for a while, that feeling carried you. But feelings are not permanent. Feelings are weather. They change without warning, without permission, without reason. And when the feeling disappeared, when the motivation dried up and the discipline had not yet been built to replace it, what happened? What did you do when the work stopped feeling meaningful and started feeling mechanical? What did you do when progress slowed to the point where you could not measure it? What did you do when someone in your life looked at what you were building and said, quietly or loudly, that it was not going to work? For most people, the answer is the same. They found a reason to stop. And here is what makes this dangerous. Quitting is not always loud. It does not always announce itself. It does not come in one single dramatic moment where you stand at a crossroads and consciously decide to walk away. That is not how weak minds operate. Weak minds quit slowly. They quit in fragments. They quit in the small decisions made every single day that no one else can see. They quit when they sleep in instead of rising to do the work. They quit when they choose entertainment over effort. They quit when they scroll through someone else's life instead of building their own. They quit when they tell themselves one day of rest will not matter. They quit in the 5-minute delays that stretch into hours. They quit in the conversations they have with themselves at night, where they reduce their own ambition down to something smaller and safer and easier to reach. Quitting is a habit. It is practiced. It is rehearsed. And every time a mind surrenders to discomfort in a small moment, it becomes slightly more willing to surrender in a larger one. Every time you choose escape over endurance, you are training your mind to believe that escape is the correct response to pressure. And after enough repetition, it becomes automatic. The mind reaches for comfort before it ever considers strength. This is the psychology of average. Not talent, not luck, not circumstance. The psychology of average is simply this: the consistent, daily choice to stop before transformation begins. Now understand something. The people who achieve extraordinary things are not always more talented than you. They are often not smarter. They are not always more disciplined from the beginning. They are not always more focused, or more organized, or more gifted with circumstances. What separates them is not ability. What separates them is duration. They stayed. When the results were invisible, they stayed. When the motivation was gone, they stayed. When people around them expressed doubt, they stayed. When the work became painful and slow and uncertain, they stayed. They understood something at a fundamental level that weak minds never learn, that the results are always on the other side of the point where most people quit. The gap between average and excellent is not talent, it is endurance. It is the willingness to continue working in the dark before the light arrives. It is the discipline to show up on the days when every part of you is arguing for rest. It is the psychological commitment to your future self that is strong enough to override the demands of your present comfort. That is the core of mental toughness. And it is not glamorous. It is not loud. It does not look the way people think it looks. Mental toughness is not rage. It is not aggression. It is not the dramatic display of force you see performed on screens. Real mental toughness is quiet. It is consistent. It is the cold, steady decision made in private, again and again, to do the work regardless of how you feel. Discipline is not motivation. This distinction matters more than most people realize. Motivation is emotional. It is reactive. It rises and falls with your mood, with your environment, with your circumstances. Motivation is useful when it is present, but it is unreliable. It cannot be scheduled, it cannot be summoned on demand, and it will always disappear at exactly the moment you need it most. Discipline is different. Discipline is structural. It is the architecture you build around your behavior so that action does not depend on feeling. Disciplined people do not wait to feel ready. They do not wait for the right emotional state. They do not negotiate with themselves about whether today is a good day to work. They work because the decision was already made, because the system is already in place, because they have trained themselves to move independent of mood. This is the foundation of every real result you have ever seen in any person who built something meaningful. Behind the visible achievement is an invisible architecture of repeated action in the absence of emotional support. The days no one saw, the mornings before the world was awake, the late hours after everyone else had stopped, the quiet, sustained pressure applied over time in the direction of something that had not yet revealed itself. That is where transformation lives. In the unseen hours, in the unglamorous repetition, in the painful, boring, unacknowledged consistency that weak minds cannot sustain because it offers nothing immediately in return. And this is the conversation no one is having honestly. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the signal that something is being built. When you feel the discomfort of difficult work, when your mind resists, when your body wants to rest and your emotions argue for withdrawal, that pressure is not telling you to stop. That pressure is telling you that you are in the exact place where growth occurs. Growth does not happen in comfort. Growth happens at the edge. At the boundary between what you can currently handle and what you cannot. Every time you push past that boundary, even slightly, even imperfectly, the boundary moves. You expand. You become capable of tolerating more than you could yesterday. The second person is not superhuman. They feel the same resistance, the same doubt, the same exhaustion, the same absence of motivation on the mornings when the work feels hollow. But they have built something the first person has not. They have built a relationship with discomfort that is not based on fear. They have learned through previous suffering that they did not abandon, that the feeling of wanting to quit is not a truth about their limits. It is simply a feeling. And feelings pass. Silent perseverance. Two words that contain everything worth knowing about how real achievement happens. Not the loud declaration of intention. Not the public announcement of transformation. Not the social display of effort. The silent, sustained, private commitment to doing what needs to be done when no one is watching, when nothing feels good, when the results are not yet visible, when doubt is louder than confidence. The person who masters silence perseverance becomes something most people will never be. They become consistent, not occasionally consistent, not consistent when it is convenient, consistent when it is hard. Consistent when it is boring. Consistent when every signal from their environment is telling them to stop. That kind of consistency is rare, and it produces outcomes that look, to those who did not witness the process, like sudden success. People will call it luck, they will call it talent, they will construct explanations that remove personal responsibility, because those explanations are more comfortable than the truth. The truth is that you can choose this right now, not tomorrow. Not after the circumstances improve. Not after you feel ready, because the feeling of readiness is not coming before the action. The action is what produces the feeling. You choose now to be the person who stays. The person who continues past the point where weak minds stop. The person who builds the architecture of discipline brick by brick in the private hours, out of the sight of applause and validation and encouragement. You choose to become someone who has learned that pain is not permanent, but quitting is. Because here is the final truth, the thing that sits beneath all of this. Weak minds are always working toward the same goal, the elimination of discomfort. Everything they do is designed to feel safer, softer, easier, sooner. And that goal is the reason they never arrive anywhere meaningful. Because nothing meaningful is built in comfort. The version of you that you respect is not going to emerge from a comfortable life. It is going to emerge from the consistent choice to endure what most people will not endure, to continue past what most people can tolerate, to stay in the fire long enough to be changed by it. Strong minds do not eliminate discomfort. They develop a relationship with it. They learn to work inside it. They learn to read it not as a stop sign, but as a signal that they are in exactly the right place. And they stay. Long after the weak mind has found its exit. Long after the excuses have been built and believed. Long after the average person has returned to comfort and called it peace. The strong mind stays and transforms and becomes what it always was capable of being. The only question is whether you will choose that. Not whether you are capable. Capability is almost never the real variable. The question is whether you will choose to stay past the point where quitting feels like the rational option. Because on the other side of that point is everything you said you wanted now. Comment below, I don't quit early.